Call the July 24th, 2025 City Commission meeting to order. All 5 commissioners are present. Any additions, corrections to the minutes?
I see none.
Okay, we'll move on to the financial statement. Kim, we're up.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. This is a report of financial summaries, revenue and expenditure activities for the City of Hayes month ended June 30, 2025. Revenues in June totaled $10,234,352. That's a decrease of $664,000 compared to the same period as last year. Some notable areas of increased revenue: we received a total of $103,000 in depreciation into the miscellaneous revenue for capital projects on 2 hail claims from that May 24 storm. Those repairs are continuing to be completed, so we anticipate more depreciation to come. Notable areas of revenue decrease: a large share of the noted decrease above was due to mid-year transfers being completed. In total, those were down $127,000 year over year. The bulk of those transfers are into the general and employee benefits funds. The Airport Improvement Fund federal grants line was off $904,000 due to CARES funding a year ago. Expenditures in June totaled $8,151,17. That's an increase of $605,000. Notable areas of increased expenditure: as mentioned, hail repairs are continuing. Therefore, capital projects increased $829,000. That's where the claim funds are being received. Commission capital reserve increased $70,700 for the stormwater and street infrastructure at 27th and Main. Insurance and surety for intergovernmental rose $552,000 due to simply the timing of payment for the property liability coverage. Public safety expenditures were up $47,000 for PD tasers and related equipment, as well as video manager and net motion software renewals. Public works equipment and general supplies expenditures increased $20,700 for new signal detection equipment, Scarifier, and insulation on the Public Works barrel roof. Notable areas of decreased expenditure: airport improvement fell $957,000 for the SRE building construction, as well as the 422 runway reconstruct design expenditures a year ago. Health insurance billing was off a month, lowering that line item $159,000 from last year. And design of the multi-use path a year ago lowered special parks $34,400. Month to date, general fund sales tax collections were at $816,000, which was an increase of $51,000 or 6.7% compared to last year. Year to date, general fund sales tax is still trending up at $125,653 or 2.7%. The 6-month average is at 2.7%, and that year-over-year increase is 2.7. That's not a typo. Year-to-date, county sales tax collections were at $580,000, up $23,000. The report of the top 10 quarter-to-date sales tax collections by classification was down $63,000, or negative 2%. Those top 10 represent 73% of the total collections. Finally, the total par value of the U.S. Treasuries for June was $11,717,000 with a weighted average yield to maturity of 4.2%. That's down 0.5% from a year ago. Total of the portfolio of certificates of deposit on June 30 was $58.4 million with a weighted average rate to maturity of 4.5%, down 30 basis points. Total balance of the money market account on June 30 was $4.2 million with a current yield of 3.388. That's down 0.75% from a year ago. And total investments were up $1,465,701.
Make a motion to approve the June financial report.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Musil, seconded by Commissioner Cunningham. Any discussion or questions?
I just want to know with this thing that like goes boo or whatever in the middle of the traffic signal, this Scarifier thing. Yeah.
Don't ask me what a Scarifier is. I don't think anybody from Public Works is here. If anybody knows what a Scarifier is.
I
I think it's.
don't think it's traffic signal. Like a Scarifier is something that scrapes the ground,
Oh, yeah.
That's
Like
what I was going to say.
rips the
Yeah.
ground up.
Maybe for.
Has nothing
for
to do with boo.
when they lay down markings. I think that's what they. Break the
Scarifier.
old off.
Scarifier, I think that's
Scarifier.
the word.
Right.
Yeah,
Scarifier.
I think-
Maybe
Oh,
that's
yeah, good point.
Maybe I'm mispronouncing it.
It's a whole different meaning, different word there. All right.
Good point.
Anything else?
Just-
Not a call.
I mean, it's, hold on,
Oh,
just,
sorry.
it's good that we have positive Sales tax still.
Sales tax is up.
I looked just before I came over, we don't have any numbers yet for June or July.
Sales tax is up and revenues still exceeded expenditures. So, there we go.
No? Awesome.
All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Passes 5-0. Thank you, Kim. Citizen comments. Nobody's moving. Consent agenda, no. Item 6 on the agenda, CDBG grant for property at 1012 Main Street, public hearing.
Good afternoon, Jared Kuckelman, Assistant City Manager. So this item should be familiar for you because we did do discussion on it a few weeks ago and some resolutions passed. CDBG does have strict notification deadlines and notices for public hearings, and so that was missed, so my apologies. So we're going to redo this and have a second try. When I say that CDBG is strict, you can know that I do mean it. So I will stand for any questions you have. Otherwise, we can continue with the public hearing.
Do we have any comments or questions or? Oh, not yet.
You have to open the public hearing.
Oh, I thought I did that. Public hearing is now open. See, it's so easy to make these mistakes. Seeing no questions, comments, I need a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Barrick, seconded by Commissioner Reuter. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
We're done. Thank you,
You can
Jared.
now check the box.
But you know, that was one mark. And I am keeping track back here. You're going to get a whole bunch of strikes. Don't worry about that. Okay, the housing, update on the housing study. Colin Belser, Deputy City Manager.
Good afternoon, Colin Belzer, Deputy City Manager. So in 2022, the city contracted with RDG, which is a planning and design firm, to perform a housing study for the community. The study involved an examination of the demographic, construction, and market data, as well as roundtable discussions with lenders and builders and other interested parties. So a housing study is necessary per state statute if a community intends to implement a reinvestment housing incentive districts, which is one reasons why we've done housing studies. And right now the city has about 5 or 6 of those type of RHID districts. And then also internally, city policy requires that the housing study to be updated every 3 years. RDG was contracted again to update just the market analysis portion of the study to see what's changed since 22. They submitted that report. So here's a snapshot of the construction activity in the city of Hayes. This is from our building permit information going back to 2010. As you can see, pretty in the early 2010s, there was high numbers, and then it dipped, and then it went back up higher these last few years, but now we're down lower again. You can also see based on this that in the early 2010s, it was single family and duplexes were really popular, and it seems we've transitioned to more single family and multifamily. And then I'll point out the bullet point on the right, that's the last one, that talks about the increase in interest rates beginning in late 22 could have impacted some of these number of housing starts, or it could be availability of lots. So I did ask our planning development, they keep an inventory of this. There's 49 residential lots right now available across the city.
49.
49 for someone to build on. That does not include the Grove, Tallgrass, or Covenant Estates First Edition. The Grove is pretty much complete, so that would be 52 lots is what I have. So the 52 plus 49 would equal 101 lots right now that theoretically are ready to be built on. So the study does a development projection, and this is information that assumes what's needed to support a 1% growth rate. So what I've done is consolidated some information from the 22 study to compare to the 25. 22 studies in the blue, and then the year above is what how much we'd have to build by that certain year. So in 2022, when that study was submitted, for us to meet a 1% growth rate by 2025, we needed to build 354 homes. Based on the permit data, we were able to build 144 housing units, and some of those are probably still under construction. So that's being a little generous. You can see by 2030, the 22 study said we needed to build 463 or 93 average annual construction, and the updated says 462 and an 87. So pretty consistent, kind of in the same place we were back when they did this study originally. Also, I find interesting, I mentioned, we have roughly 101 lots that are available right now. To do that 1%, if that's the target, that's roughly all those lots. We have to do 93, 87 on average annual construction, but there's only 101 available. It takes a while to get lots ready.
Colin, on the tall grass, the 100, is it two lots out on the tall grass edition? Yeah,
Phase
next
4.
phase. 101, okay. How long is it supposed to take to build those?
If you're asking Mr. Williams.
A year.
Mr. Williams,
Okay, sorry, I'll leave him alone.
don't do that. Thank you. I don't know.
I'm done.
Okay.
Colin, the
Sorry, Mayor.
The 101 lots you said that are available, those are not the tall grass ones, those are current available lots. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
there's 49 scattered across the city, and then the 52 for the Grove.
Okay.
So the 49, like, I live on the east side of town, there's a few that don't have homes on it. They're just smatterings. Probably some of Catherine's on the west side, the new cul-de-sac she has,
Oh,
those would
yeah.
be part of that 49 count.
Do we know what the average price per lot is?
I do not. I don't know if Doug has any idea. For a lot?
I don't know if a lot of them are listed. I think a lot of them are just
Yeah, that's probably true too.
They're not at that point.
maybe
to-
owned and not developed or owned as an investment.
I thought this might happen. If you'd like to step up, Doug, you may have some other comments.
Better
to
just sit
this.
over there.
Doug
Thank
knows
you.
the market better.
Doug Williams, Executive Director of Grow Hayes, and I think available would not maybe be the right term. Unbuilt on would be the right term. Available would not be the term because the majority of them are not available to be
Are
built.
not for
They're
sale.
not for sale.
That's right.
In terms of an average sales price, 25 or 30, probably average, maybe a little higher.
$25,000 or $30,000 per lot,
Yeah.
and that's just the lot price. No specials,
Yes.
no RHID,
No.
no,
Just the
No.
dirt.
just the dirt.
The lots in the Covenant or whatever they're calling the Catherine Burnett's edition, I believe, the average price of those were about 47.5 to 50. The average on what is sold in tall grass to date has been probably less than 20. So if you average that all out, you're going to come up somewhere in that 30 to 35 range, which is what the last lots that Gary Weatherby owned out on 17th Street and that kind of thing, they sold in that mid-30s range.
So how, if you had to throw a guess of those 101 lots, how many would be ready to purchase, you think?
They're either owned by contractors who are holding them to build for somebody else, or I would have a hard time driving to a lot in this community that would be for sale today that could be built on. I'm sure there probably are some, but I can't think of any.
So aside from already the planned developments we have, there's really not a lot of available lots outside of the projects that are started?
There aren't a lot for sale, a lot of lots for sale. I know of one in the northwest area that the people bought a house and they were planning to build on it. They sold it, and I think they got like $125,000 for it. So you have a broad range depending on what they are and where they are, but there are not a lot of readily available lots, and that's why the numbers that Colin showed in terms of last year's number, it wasn't an inability to build, it was an inability of lot inventory to build on, because we ran out in tall grass, and there's some lots that are up on Royal Court that are available, but they're owned by builders who have no plans to sell them to somebody. They plan to build something for somebody on those lots.
So for individual custom-built homes, essentially.
Right.
Well, Mayor, what I was getting at is by what it's saying we need, and you look at the amount of houses we're building in the next 5 years, not only houses, apartments, it doesn't even touch that, and we're building more in the next 5 years than we built
Ever.
ever.
I totally agree with you.
And so when people say we don't we're not building enough houses. I mean, you can only build, I mean, the builders we have, and it's, yeah, we all want more, but
We're building to the capacity of what we can,
Yeah.
but it's still not enough.
it's not even close to being enough.
Right.
If, as I've been told when I sit down and discuss this with people, you know, statistics come from a lot of different places. And I think that we hear, data bothers me, a lot of data, but if as long as it's consistent, I'm okay. If our sources of data are consistent, I'm okay. If we're going different places, you know, can I do one of these without going out and having a survey? I might be able to get closer
Yep.
with the work that we're doing in this community now together. We might know a little more on today's basis, but what they're projecting, we're projected to have 1% growth. And to do that, as Mr. Williams has told us over the years, I don't know what our last number was 85 houses a year. We have to stay on that. And everything that we are seeing from the state, we're the only community out in this part of the state that has any growth potential over the next 10 years, and that is 1%. So what else can you look at? I mean, we can go sit in our homes and figure out what we think, but we have to base it on the data available and the expertise of the people around us. More importantly for me than that is the fact that, how many homes, Mr. Williams, in the first 3 phases, 65? 66. Everyone was sold, if not out of the ground, before it was done. That's data to me.
Yeah, that's factual.
That's data to me. And it's data about our community. So I don't think we should ever disregard any of this. I think we should take it along with everything we know and experience in our community and make good decisions based on that. I think that's kind of what Colin is sharing with us on how to use this data and how to use this information.
And if we want to,
Okay.
if we want to grow in retail, which we're all pushing for, if we don't get more people living here, we don't have enough workers to take care of the new retail.
And that 1% growth is based on 1% growth if we meet that demand for housing. It
In
does
order
not
to
happen
do-
the other way around.
In order to do 1% growth, in the 25 study, you'd have to build on average 87 living units
Which is based on demand.
based on to meet that 1%.
To meet
growth.
that
Right,
1%
meet
growth
the-
is based on the demand we have.
And if you need any discussion of how that will happen, we can ask Mr. Williams to bring his triangle back to the table. That if we don't have housing, nothing's going to happen.
Seen that.
Is that,
What's your phrase?
Well, my phrase is that we can't guarantee 1% growth. But if we want to achieve 1% growth, we can't do it without building a sufficient amount of housing. I will say,
Yeah, we want to come up to it. Sorry.
1% growth is a very aggressive growth rate. And so I don't want to paint the illusion that we're going to have 1% growth, because that is aggressive. We have not grown like that for quite some time. You'd have to go back to the probably 70s and 80s. What I will say, though, is that we are not keeping up, and we have a backlog of demand for homes. And so we've got to do some work to catch up in that regard. The other thing that I don't think any of this takes into consideration, most experts, whoever they are, will tell you that a community should replace 1 to 2% of their housing stock per year, because what they have becomes obsolete and needs to be torn down and replaced. And we have not done that really at all in this community. There are places where we've seen tear downs and replacement, but nothing near 1%. So some of these numbers don't take that into consideration either. And that's why we have rental properties that probably shouldn't be lived in, but are being lived in because people don't have choices. And the market doesn't force them to tear it down or to put it to some other use. Because as long as they can continue to rent it, and I say they, just whoever those property owners are, they're not going to do that. And so until we get our market into a better balance, however that happens, we're going to have some of these challenges. So,
That's fair statement.
but I didn't want to leave the illusion that 1% growth is just a
Right.
drop in the bucket, because it's not. It's very optimistic.
well, and it's tough coming with houses for 1% growth because, you know, there's been a trend of fewer people per household, which means if you want the 1% growth, you have to have more houses. If you were having 5 people per household, you can get to 1% with a lot fewer houses. But these days, it takes a lot more housing to get to 1% growth.
Lots and lots of factors. And I take exception to some of the things in this report. I don't know where they get this statistical data from the census and the American Community Survey and things, and they try and apply it broadly. That's what these studies do, but there is no way that there are 851 vacant properties in this community right now, and that's what this survey says. And I get where they come up with it. That's the average when you go from community to community across the country and that kind of thing. But we don't have that many empty properties. We have some. Some are, I can tell you a dozen of them in town that are not occupied, but not 800 and some, which is what this says. So, you've got to look at some of the information. Some of it you have to take, in my opinion, with a grain of salt and say, yeah, okay, that may or may not apply to us.
I think that's what I was trying to say. You said it much better than I did. Taking this information and apply it to what we know and have done in our community is what I believe is the direction we should head on this. That's my opinion. I take some exceptions too as I go through this, but
So
we'll talk about that at another time.
saying that though, Toby, because we use the same company, right?
Uh-huh.
So is that something that we need to be looking next time we do this, somebody differently, or? You think
I think we're comfortable with the methodology. You're not going to get a markedly different methodology with a different company. They're going to get it from the same data sources. I think it's going to be almost impossible to get an entirely 100% accurate study because there's so many anecdotal variables that we don't know. So I think you use it as a guideline. It is a good guideline. If you update it every 3 years, like the commission requests via policy, you'll get a little bit of a progress on whether, a report on whether you're making progress or not, whether you're trying to dig into a problem or the problem's getting worse.
And remind me, don't we on some of the incentives, we have to have this done for them to qualify for it?
Yes,
the
college.
RHID.
Yes.
RHID, right, okay.
It's kind of like the WSU Economic Outlook Conference that happens.
Yep.
We have a bunch of very educated people telling us how things are going to happen. Do they know that? I wish they did. We might do things a little differently. But based on history and their knowledge and how it moves forward, that's what we listen to. And I can't imagine we would ever take one of these reports and take all of our actions and apply it directly to what we're getting. I think we do a better job than that of investigating and making sure we know what's happening in our own community.
So kind of what you just talked about, really important on this slide. RDG in the report does say that, you shouldn't take these numbers for what the actual demand is, but it's to see where the trend is and where opportunities exist. So just to touch on, here in this country, we do a decennial census, and that's the best count that we can get for population every 10 years and all the other metrics, income, et cetera. And then throughout those 10 years, they do random surveys with a statistical significance to try and keep up with that. And then when we had calls with RDG to, visit a little bit about this. They made a good point. One, college towns can be difficult because there's always a continuous churn, which is really hard to estimate. You can really only do the best you can. And then this point really I didn't think about, but it's true, is, the census is done in April of every 10 years, so 2020. April 2020 was COVID. Colleges were not having courses here.
Yeah.
So did we really capture as much? Because did those kids go home, and was the survey, so there is a lot of assumptions that go into this. But to highlight this slide, this shows what the difference is between the affordable, how many units there are in Hayes versus the number of households that would fit into that income. So I'll just point out, for someone or a family that has an income range between 25 and 50,000, they could afford to own a home that's valued at anywhere from 60 to 125, or rent anywhere from 599. So in 2020, we had 917 more units than people that fit that income range. So we had a surplus. So that's a good thing. It dropped to 605, which some of that shift, that was the other thing that was interesting with this, is because, we didn't build 300 homes. And then when we talked to RDG, we talked about this, you know, the other thing with the data they used in 22, COVID hadn't really happened, or the impacts of it, so housing values have gone up tremendously since the data they had in 2020. So some of this shift is also just houses that used to be valued at 100,000 are now 150. We've made progress in all these areas you can see, somewhat from shifting, and then some of it is probably construction. The one place, the opportunity that hasn't improved is probably the lowest income range here, from $0 to $25,000. So obviously there's two, I guess, ways that I know of to make movement in the housing market. Is one, you build more supply, so that makes movement happen. That's what I know Doug talks a lot about. So people move up in housing, which would open up this housing to people that want to move up. Or it would involve some sort of heavy subsidization, which would probably have to be needed. I was gonna, let's see if it's, that was this one. So something that was good to hear is recent federal legislation actually expanded the low-income housing tax credit, which is a tool developers use in order to build low-income housing. Because of the numbers, it's difficult to make, you know, to build a new home without that tax credit. They actually expand it, and analysts think they'll be able to put in 1 million more affordable units over the next decade in America. Unfortunately, the state of Kansas just cut their low-income
That's
housing
just what I
tax
was going to
credit.
say. What good, I mean, is it all federal dollars that come to the state that flow to us? That's not the case. So when they cut it off in Kansas, we're cut off.
Yeah, so Kansas used to have a matching component where they did more matching, and they took away that match quite a bit. But
So, Colin, we've had, the last 3 or 4 years, numerous people apply for the low-income housing, and they've got turned down. And basically, all we do is,
You mean developers?
developers, I'm sorry,
yeah.
developers. You know, we sign a letter of support, and they keep getting turned down. So if we wanted to make it happen, what would we need to do locally?
I think
Because
you'd have to-
I see a lot of people talking about we're not doing enough and we need to contribute to it. What can we do more than what we're doing with all the incentives?
So obviously you have your incentives that would help play a piece.
Right.
You know, the RHID policy used to include you have to include some sort of affordable housing provision,
Right.
but nothing was happening.
Right.
So that was when the change was made. Let's try and open it up. Still, low-income builders could still utilize it, but we didn't have the restriction that you had to. We've seen some development from that. So what that tells me, it's more than incentives are needed in order to make that work.
Right.
And it would probably just be, I'd say, a cash infusion.
Yep.
You would have to.
Which would mean a mill levy increase. I mean, that's the only way we'd be able to afford it, wouldn't we?
Or cut
Cut.
significantly.
Or cuts, yeah.
It'd be a large cash infusion.
Yeah.
Because it couldn't just be like here's a $50,000 grant. That's not going to help anything.
No.
It would have to be a large amount of cash to move that kind of housing quickly.
But-
No, go ahead.
No, just the reason the builders aren't building the low income, and Doug, maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong here, is there's not enough margin without the incentives. And so they're building the houses, the middle to higher end houses. Would that be correct?
The state tax incentives. you're
Yeah,
referring
without
to,
the,
yeah.
incentive, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, since
Somewhat.
I've been here, one project has happened in Hayes that used the low-income housing tax credit, Washington School.
Yes.
Which was a good project. 2 others have come forward and you guys supported and submitted letters for. One was by a firm in Kansas City that
The
is
overlay?
actually another developer in Omaha is doing the same property. That's the one I was saying. Those both have got denied for those tax credits.
Not from us.
Correct, the state. Just because it's a competitive process. It's not that, it wasn't worthy or anything, or it wasn't a good project. It's, they have to distribute the dollars across the state, and how they do that. And then a developer tried to buy Lincoln School that would specialize in low-income housing tax credits, but their bid for the school wasn't, someone else
Someone
that's
else.
doing market rate was able to pay more. So, I mean, there's conversations happening. I know Grow Hayes and Jared have met with those type of developers
Right.
for low-income housing, so.
Isn't
It's not just a Hayes challenge.
Oh, that's just what I
everywhere.
was going to say. This
Link-
is not to us.
Is Lincoln being used for moderate income housing? It's not the low income housing, but it's moderate income.
No,
housing.
it's just housing.
Market rate.
Okay. Just
Oh,
market
just
rate.
mark, okay.
Colin, can I add one thing? Go
Yeah.
back to your one slide, please. When you look at the imbalance in the income range, you're not talking single-family homes. You're never going to build anything close to a single-family home to cover that range. You're talking density housing. You're talking apartments for that range. And with the exception of Mike Graham, we don't have people that build apartments. I travel to Manhattan, Lawrence, places like that, Johnson County, and say, why can't we get some of these neat apartment complexes? We don't have builders that build that. Yeah, we have one guy that builds that. So you actually have to have a construction market that would support that and has the ability in that to be able to adapt that with some subsidies to do something. And a lot of the low-income housing comes with long-term federal obligations and federal requirements. And, it's kind of an onerous process. So that's kind of another reason why we don't have that. It's also the reason we don't have affordable range for renters. If you look at the study, you have affordable ranges for owners and for renters. When you look at the renters, when you get into the people that make $100,000 a year or more, or 75 or more, we have nothing, or very little, because we don't have a lot of high-end rentals, even though there is a demand for high-end rentals. And again, it's because we don't have people that build that type of thing. So that's another barrier to what Colin's talking about, to getting that type of stuff constructed.
Well, I guess my last thing on the low income is I feel like we all want to have them built in our community. We've tried everything possible, but if anybody in the community has a way to do it, let us know, because I don't feel like there's any other way. I mean, without us raising mills, and it'd be a ton to be
Throwing
able
cash.
to subsidize. But if somebody has a better idea, I'm all for it. But I think we've done everything possible, but I mean, we'll see if it happens anytime soon.
Colin, on the incentives that we have, that we offer, is there an incentive that the state allows us to offer that we don't use?
Good question.
I mean, we use every single one available to us, right? IRB, CID, TIF, RHID. I mean, we use them all. And
I'm not aware of anything.
I've
The
asked
only outstanding incentive I know would be the STAR bond, which
yeah, and that doesn't solve this
Whole
problem.
different
Use
world.
neighborhood revitalization as well.
Yeah.
we use the NRP or NRA, whichever one it is.
And we could expand that. That's one tool we could do, which we have. How many
You've
times?
expanded
yeah.
a couple
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
Yep.
Real quick though, interesting, and RDG pointed this out in the original study. The NR neighborhood revitalization area, that it's a state incentive. It's a property tax, not abatement rebate, or so you still have to pay so if you make the improvement to your house, that's really nice. You'll get taxed more. You still have to make that payment before you get the money back.
Right.
So RDG pointed out, for the low income people, it's kind of hard for them to
Right.
make an improvement,
Sure.
pay that property tax just to wait for the check to come back.
Especially when there's a requirement of what, $25,000 is minimum
Yeah, I think
for an improvement to the property, which a
Because
lot of
there's-
low-income people aren't going to have 25 grand just to upgrade a house.
And the reason that dollar threshold was found is that staff worked with the county to determine,
Right.
if you're doing a $5,000 enhancement to your home, your property tax bill's not really gonna increase. There's a, critical mass at some point that has to be
But-
achieved.
Right.
Colin, when you talk about that rebate, that's set by the state, right? That's not set by us.
It's the state allows you to do it for
The
10
state
years,
allows.
and we've implemented the program to do it.
Right, but it's not us saying that, I mean, we don't rebate you ahead of time. You have to build it and then we
Yeah,
rebate. That's
yeah.
the state that,
The county gives you the money back, but yeah.
Right. but I mean, we don't set the rules how they rebate it back is what I'm
No,
saying.
no.
That's what- okay.
Are the incentives that we utilize then, are any of them found to be too restrictive for developers to do any of these projects? 'Cause I know when I came in on the board in 2020, we had the RHID for what, 12 years? Had 0 applications.
Nothing.
Not even just a get to the process. Nobody applied.
Too restrictive.
It was too restrictive. So we opened it up, and it's obviously made some dent. It might not be as diverse a housing as I'd like it to be, but at some point there's got to be some kind of give and take between the free market that's allowing it to grow. We are not developers throwing cash at these projects. They are the ones who make the decision, is this going to be is this going to be fruitful enough for me as a business to turn a profit, which, I mean, that's their right as a business owner and how they want to run their business. I just don't see incentive-wise or what we can do from this area to incentivize it anymore without throwing cash at it, which I don't think is the right way to do things. I don't think we should raise taxes, throw cash at private projects.
I think, I don't want to interrupt anybody. I think we need to understand we're selling ourselves pretty short on what we've done over the last 5 years. The RHID, as you said, was never used. In my mind, when we decided to work with the RHID, it was not only to get housing started and give Grow Hayes an opportunity to do some development, which would never have happened if Grow Hayes wasn't able to negotiate the price on the land for Tallgrass. If that hadn't been done, we wouldn't have a single house out there today. And I may be overstating it, Doug, but I believe that.
No, I think
I think we did what we said we would do. We now have private investment putting in housing. That was the goal, was to get the private investors back into housing. And we're doing it. You know, Catherine was gone for a long time. She's back. She sees the opportunity. I wish we had the power to turn that switch just because we sit up here and say so. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. We can provide every bit of incentive we can that's reasonable. Now, I think affordable housing is a whole ball of wax in its own. I think, should we have tons more discussion about it? Absolutely. Do we have the answers sitting at this table? I don't think so. I don't. I wish I did. And I'm reading as much as I can get my hands on about the opportunities in it. We have private investors investing in our community. And I can't go tell the guy that's building these houses over here, please stop that and go down and build affordable housing over here. That's not my job. And if the city determines that we want to throw a whole lot of money at affordable housing, there's probably a route we can take, but I haven't heard anybody say that's what we're ready to do.
Can I put Doug on the spot for a second?
We do it
'Cause
all the time.
He's pretty good at this. If I spend $150,000 to build a living unit, what am I going to have to rent that for to recoup my investment?
Go back to the 1% rule, and that's 1,500.
Okay, $1,500 a month?
That's on the high side, but
Okay.
certainly 1,200.
Okay, so if you go back to the slide, the lowest income can afford 0 to 500 a month. So we have a builder now that's building apartments, and the cheapest they can build them is $150,000 for a unit. If what they can afford to pay is 0 to 499, that money's got to come from somewhere. So that's why this is such a different animal than almost everything else in this table here, is because of the imbalance in that. And that's why it typically takes federal and state tax credits, things like that, to incentivize this, because it's a huge loss every year to rent those at that rate.
And it's a giant intertwined beast between housing and the jobs that need them.
Right.
We need housing to provide the workforce for, attracting or retaining businesses that we have here. Because more business, more competition allows businesses to both grow and provide their employees with wages that are commensurate with the rest of the population. We're kind of stuck at that point right now where, it is difficult to do that. We can't build what's needed for that price point for the wages that are competition. And we're doing everything we can to provide existing businesses here in town that opportunity as well. There's a bunch of state programs out there that anybody can come and ask us for. I know you guys have open doors. People walk into Brief Space all the time and ask, hey, I've got a business and I need help finding a grant or a loan or anything like that. And we provide those services at essentially no cost to them because we want them to succeed. We're just stuck between those two intertwined pieces.
That's kind of a good way to say it. We're stuck. I mean, it's simple. I look at this market analysis conclusions. The development community has not responded to this demand as construction activity has actually declined in the last several years. Much of the new rental construction has been in locations or layouts appealing to students and not to the city's young workforce. That's what the builders are building. That's Mr. Graham, who's investing in our community. That's what he's building. The shortage of housing is likely to persist as there are more job openings based on participant feedback than available units. You know, I'm not sure what those jobs are. That's another conversation that I'm working on, but I've been assured they are out there, and there's a lot of them.
Well, you know, to touch base what you were saying, Toby, on those affordable, like the 0 to 499, if we tear down some of those apartments and they build new, like Kelly Kinky has done on 11th Street, they can't afford to, the people that are renting those now can't afford to live in those new apartments.
No, they're
they
typically market rates.
Yeah.
What I'm talking is the, some of the housing, so we have a lot of rental units in town where they use HUD tax credits. They sign up for HUD. The federal,
Yep.
That's a federal influx of cash to allow them to rent those below market
Right,
rate,
right.
but still receive the same revenue as they would receive in a market rate. Overland Property Group, they do the apartments down by the aquatic park, you know, on the east and west side of Maine. Those are built with property tax credit, with federal tax credits. So they receive federal tax credits to offset. They have a 20-year guarantee on caps they can rent. And I think it might ratchet up a little bit with inflation, but there's a guarantee for 20 years. They have to maintain that. They have to do all their federal reporting. After 20 years, they can go market rate. So then after 20 years, they can either maybe reap a little more return or sell it as an investment and do something else. So that's how come the federal government feels comfortable enough giving them that. But, you know, the example I gave with the house, that doesn't take into account land and streets and water and sewer and anything else. It's literally just the cost to construct a unit. So even if you guys were somehow able to give away the land and water and streets and sewer, you still have to build the stuff, and then you still have to figure out a way to keep the rents low.
I mean, that was the only reason Tallgrass, the first phase of Tallgrass worked at 225 to 235 or whatever, was because the RHAD allowed the offset of costs for infrastructure, and the land was a partnership with Heart of America, a nonprofit organization that helped us secure that land.
Cheap lots. I mean, cheap lots.
The first 36 lots were $10,000 each, and the maximum sales price on the homes was $225,000. That allowed more affordable or appropriate, whatever you want to call it. You know, there's 30 people in this room, and everybody's got a different opinion about what's affordable, I assure you. But using the tools and trying to build housing that provides a need in the market is what these incentives are all about. And we are not going to build our way into affordable housing. I can tell you that. We can. Let me rephrase that. We're not going to build affordable housing because, to Toby's point, the DP management who's looking at the project, they applied for the Nex-Tech and they didn't get their estimated cost was $209,000 per unit for dense apartments. Now they had a swimming pool and a clubhouse fitness deal incorporated. That's a part of the reason why it was high, but there's no way to make that work and hit the price range that Toby was talking about. But if you have those where people that are living in maybe the apartments that could rent for that, move into that and open those up, that's how you open up affordable housing, whatever that is. You're not going to build it without significant subsidy, and as you noted, with the state not supporting the Nex-Tech programs and that kind of thing, I don't know that we're going to see that happen. So we're going to have to look to other things, and that's why a developer like Heart of America has been able to come in and develop the Tallgrass Edition and offer homes that, I don't know if they're affordable or not, but I know they're selling. I talked to both developers this week. One of them has a waiting list of 21, the other one has 40 that want homes out there. So they're coming from someplace. And I'm going to talk in a couple of weeks about the economic impacts of the RHID. I think I'm on your schedule sometime later in August, but it's pretty significant what the positive aspects are.
I'm glad you brought that up, Doug, and that was happening at my request. The community seems to be a little hard on RHIDs right now. I think understanding the economic impact of an RHID throughout our community, everything that's impacted is important. It's not as if Doug doesn't have anything to do, but he committed to doing that by the end of August, giving us all of that data we need on how much actual economic impact there is by using that RHID. And I think it will enlighten a lot of us, me included, things I have not thought about. And I think we have to keep that in front of people. The partnerships that we build with builders in our community, and they made that, we're not letting you finish, Colin, because there's probably a lot there. One of the comments, build partnerships for sharing risk. Well, that's what we do with these RHIDs. That's what we do with incentives. Solving the city's housing shortage will not be done by one entity or group, but will take partnerships from the government, employers, and nonprofits. I mean, it's a fact of life. That's what's happening across our country. We're not exclusive. It's not exclusive to Hayes. Hayes will need to provide housing for every stage of life. This will require a greater diversity of housing than single-family, detached, and rentals oriented towards students. This is not telling us anything we don't know. We know where we have to go from here. Continue the changes in ordinances and policies that will remove hurdles and expand partnerships. And I think that's what we're doing. Leverage existing lots and expand lot development. This may require a change in the way lot development's done. But I think if we are not looking at what we're supposed to, I promise you, there are people coming forward to tell us, not the least of which is Mr. Williams.
Well, I think we're also in a unique position compared to other communities like us, because this is happening all over, where an RHID could be a breaking point for some community because they rely on that property tax, where we're relying on sales tax.
Right.
The property
That's
tax
a really good point.
the property tax that we can essentially
Push down the road.
push down the road doesn't affect us near as much as any other community, because we still have a revenue stream that's taking care of streets, police, fire, sewer, water. All of those are taken care of. Essentially, we're pushing down the library, and then potential airport revenue. But if we wouldn't develop that anyway, we'd be getting that $13 on an undeveloped lot.
$111.76 is what the entire Tallgrass addition was paying in property tax prior to the development.
So I think
That's what you'd still be getting without an RHID, because it wouldn't have happened without an RHID.
Wouldn't
Right.
have happened.
right.
It's really pretty simple stuff.
Well, and then it's an interesting concept too with what your 70-some houses, whatever. 25 were first-time home buyers. 25 were people upsizing or downsizing. Then we had 25 or so that are from out of the community that moved in to Hayes.
That's what we wanted.
Which is
Roughly.
kind of a perfect encapsulation of what we were trying to do. Create some upward mobility or downward mobility for those who are downsizing or upsizing.
And opening
home
up
buyers,
properties in the
opening up
community
properties in
for-
the community. Because if you have 60 properties, so if you had 50 of those that were first-time home buyers or whatnot, you've already at least opened up 25 additional properties probably the lower scale. That's the only reason I was able to get my first house was somebody moved up into a bigger one, and I was able to get into that one.
When you talk about workforce and wanting people to stay in a community, one of the things that keeps them here as much as anything is owning a home. That means they're going to stay here, stay in a job, more likely. Doesn't mean they won't leave for sure, but they're going to have kids, go to the school system. It's on and on, but those are all factors. So,
Doug,
Go ahead, Commissioner Barrick.
Well, I think, everything we've said, the fact that we're getting private investment means we're doing the right things. The question might be put out is, when we're losing, the state's closing off some incentives, is we are using all of the incentives that we have available to us to the best of our ability. The question is, when you're being creative, Doug, and sitting around at night, if you were going to create a different incentive that's not been thought of before, what would that be? What would an incentive look like? Other than just throw cash at it. Are there potential ways of thinking of new types of incentives that the state or the feds or the city could throw at helping to create housing that we're not doing? Because you were very creative in working with us to help make these things happen. Sometimes maybe we have to think of what's out of the box that hasn't been tried before, which you're good at. And I think the other big thing is, if we want to attract workforce and keep them here, the reality is, as Toby said, materials and people to build things cost this much. Wages are going to have to go up. If we're going to compete for our workforce, we don't make housing less expensive because the wood and everything still costs the same amount. Wages are going to have to come up. And if we're going to compete for workforce, that's just an inevitability if we want to keep people here or attract them here in the first place.
And I think they have. I think wages have gone up. I
Mhm.
mean, you don't have to go through many drive-up windows to see that they're looking for somebody for $16 an hour plus some benefits. That certainly was not the case 5 or 6 years ago. So
Correct.
I think they have gone up.
Yep.
Whether they've gone up as much as other things, that's the challenge. And I certainly recognize that we need to try the best we can to find housing and things for our most vulnerable, those who are on fixed incomes and elderly and that kind of thing. I mean, I get it, but it's not an easy equation.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up, it's going to take government partnerships, employers, and then nonprofits. One of the great things we have working, on the sidelines outside of housing and whatnot is, the Ellis County Workforce Committee that's currently in its infancy. I mean, it's a few months old, and it's been focused on, okay, what are we doing to retain our employees? Do we need to adjust what we're doing? Do we need to adjust our wages? And it's not just a bunch of government people sitting around a table. It's some of our largest employers and some small businesses are sitting in there saying, well, maybe we can partner up in various ways to increase wages.
And it's not an easy fix. It's
No.
going to take some time.
It's going to take time. I mean, the Child Care Task Force is a huge part of that. I mean, they're a few years old now, and it took them forever to kind of get going, but they were able to, reduce the number of, or increase the number of
Doug, I have
available
a-
slots.
Doug, I have one quick question.
Okay.
Do you know, sorry, do you know of any hurdles that we have in place that slows developers down?
Uh-oh.
And you can be honest.
No, the only thing I
Totally
would
close
say,
yours.
and I'll use Tallgrass as an example. Heart of America, who's the developer on Tallgrass,
Right.
spent all their money developing Tallgrass. They sold all the lots, but as a developer, they were going to have to wait 25 years to get their money back,
Right.
so they could go on. So this commission, in a very smart move, I think, progressive move, bonded out the amount that RHAD will pay back. Now, there's no doubt the revenues are coming.
Yeah.
The properties are there and they're paying taxes in exchange for Heart of America going forward and developing the next 101 lots. I think arrangements like that, if you're
That's-
willing to think outside the box and make some investments that make sense for the community and they don't take excessive risk, that's where you can make a difference. And I think you did.
That was the perfect example.
If
Yeah,
somebody
that's
else
good.
came along and was willing to do the same thing, by all means, I think that'd be great. And if somebody can come in and build housing of a different nature that was 125,000 or 150,000 per unit, by golly, let's get on with it, because we can figure out the land.
I agree with you on that. I think personally, we have to be careful on how much we bond. I
Well-
think if we do too much at once, it could actually hurt us.
That's the downside of it. There is some level of risk with that, but not very much when the increment is in place
Right.
and all the properties are built.
I agree.
So,
And with that happening so quickly, and it is the perfect example. It was a nonprofit, it was the city, and it was private investment, it was builders. I mean, it took everybody to make that happen.
Yep, absolutely.
show up on the 28th and you'll see how good it really was.
Yeah.
29th.
So I'll just conclude. So what the housing study RDG has put forward is in order to address 1% year growth, and then the various houses or living units needed in each market, those numbers represent what you need. So by 2030, you'd need 126 affordable moderate, which is less than $200,000 homes. For owner occupied and renter would be the 63 and so forth. So now the challenge is making that happen, but in order to, based on their data, have that happen, that's what you would have to strive for. Any further questions?
Just for clarification, population-wise,
Mhm.
students excluded, Fort Hays students excluded, our growth has been about 0.23%. Is that right?
I can't remember what the study says. It's in there.
0.4%.
Yeah, it was .47.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little less than 1/2 of one.
Okay. It's not negative,
No.
but
No.
because
But
if
it's
we-
not one.
Because if we just cut building, we're going to run into the exact same problem. I mean, because it's basic supply and demand. Maybe Doug might know this question.
I'm glad Doug showed up to this.
I'm glad you did too, Doug.
Sorry I did.
Okay. In your, speaking with developers or people who have moved into the community and whatnot, have they given you the indication that our current tax rates are a barrier?
No. Relatively speaking, if you look at the mill levy in Hays, Kansas, it's one of the lowest in the state. Valuations, we may be higher, we're certainly higher than a lot of places. Peer communities, we're not really any higher to speak of in terms of valuations. So overall, our property taxes are very affordable relative to other places. None of us likes property tax, and when they go up, we don't like it, that kind of thing. But if just looking at the facts, where our mill levy is and where our valuations are, we're very comparable to other places in terms of valuations. Mill levy down here, so the same house in Hayes has $3,000 in property tax. That same property in Dodge City is $4,800 in property tax. So, compared to other places, and I'm sure we can find some exceptions to that, but by and large, if you look on our annual report sometime, we've got a comparison to other communities that would be peer communities, Pittsburgh, Emporia, Dodge, Garden, similar populations, college towns. We compare very favorably for property taxes.
Yeah, because when I pulled it up, I was doing some research. We're at total mill about 120. That's city, school, everything, all together. Garden's about 168, Dodge is 162, Liberal's 179, Great Bend's 165, Salina's 139, Phillipsburg's 166. And then I compared Kearney, Nebraska. Nebraska does a little bit different. They do it based on cents per $100 instead of 1,000. But even then, the same house in Kearney, Nebraska, you'd still be paying about $500 more in property tax annually. Here in Ellis County, if you built the exact same house over in Ellis, you're paying $1,600 more in property tax a year, 10 minutes away. The only one closest to us I could find outside of similar sized communities was Shinshin.
Oh, my.
They're at 117. They're almost as much as we are. And then, it's the same thing with sales tax for retailers coming in too. We're at 925. The state takes 6.5 of that. County gets 0.5 cent of that, which sunsets in 2030. The school gets a 0.5 cent, which was passed by voters for repayment of the bond. And then we run on 1.75%, which the 1.25% was passed in 1990, or the water one was passed in 1995, and we switched to general fund by sales tax in 2004. So with all of those extra things added in there to keep property tax down, we're at 925. Ellis is at 9, Victoria's at 8, Shinshin's at 7, Garden City's at 8.95, Dodge is at 9, Liberal's 925, Great Bend's 8.7, Salina's 8, Phillipsburg's 9, and Kearney's at 7. But that's because the state takes less than our state does at 5.5. Their county, and they don't have any additional sales tax for anything else, and they have 1.5% that they had to pass because their property taxes were sneaking up. So they don't use it like we do. They use it as a property tax buffer. So it's something that we don't do well enough, and you've said it a bunch of times, is we don't sell our story enough on we're proud of what we have with how we can do what we're doing. And the state looks at us for a lot of different things. We've been approached for all the projects we've done in the last 5 years, more than I could ever imagine, because people want to copy what we're doing, and they are starting to. And it takes us, the community at large, and our current businesses, the businesses looking at us, people moving in, and the people that have lived here forever. I'll say it again, my family's been here for 150 years. We don't want this place to go away anytime soon. None of us like to pay taxes, just because it's one of those things you don't feel like sometimes you might not get a say, but being here at this meeting, being here when those things happen, emailing us, talking to us in the street, people do it all the time. That's how we get things done, and we get sometimes railroaded by state and federal cuts that are unnecessary for programs that are supposed to help solve some of these problems. And you know what? Instead of saying, oh, we're done, we're just not going to look at it anymore, we're here discussing, okay, what are different avenues we can take without just throwing straight cash at it? Because we don't want to throw things away. We like having money in reserves. We don't zero spend. We like to focus energy where it needs to be focused without running out of resources.
Well said. Commissioner Cunningham, I saw you ready to talk.
Yeah, I was just going to add that I hope for those that take the time to look through this and listen, that they see we really are doing good things. There's still obstacles to overcome. And obviously the data showing that we still have housing needs. And affordability, I think Mr. Williams said it, that it's going to be a different definition for all of us of what's affordable. But I feel like as a community as a whole, we are really trying to hit all of the needs and look at all the different options and making things affordable and really trying to encourage development. And yes, mostly private, because we know that we're not an area that's attracting developers to come in and make huge developments. We have been looked at, but like you said, they've been turned down for their incentives, and not by us, but by the state. And so I just hope as a community we see the good that we're doing and we continue down that road.
Well said. Anybody else?
I would agree, you know, Commissioner Ruder, what you said, I think we should be very happy what we're doing, but we can't be satisfied. And we got to be looking for anything and everything, and I think we are. I mean, we're not just here talking. I mean, there's things in action that we're getting done. And drive around town, you can see it. And it's, our community wants that, and it's shown.
I think the cool thing is really that what this really at basics level does with the study is it says that, you know, we're doing all of these cool things and using incentives, and the study's basically saying you're not going to run out of a need for using incentives to create more housing. So we're not overstepping our bounds. We're not jumping ahead of ourselves so much because we're going to catch up to the housing, so we're not going to need to use the incentives and be creative. So the fact that we're still being creative, this just justifies it for us, that the future need is still there, and we're not running into a brick wall at any time soon. So we can keep doing the good things that we're working on.
Are you done? Oh.
I'm happy, whatever, whatever you'd like.
Any more questions for Colin? And we're all still looking at this, so it could come up again at next.
Oh yeah, conversation's definitely not over. I'm just out of words.
Thank you very much, Colin. I think we're ready to hear about all that progress from Melissa. Oh, you're doing the progress. Sorry.
Well, let Melissa talk about college progress.
She's going to be all about happenings.
Exactly. Colin Belzer, Deputy City Manager. And so the service division did repair the street at the intersection of 22nd and MacArthur. The pavement was failing, and the new transitions greatly improved the route.
That is a really, really big improvement.
Yeah, we had a planning commissioner actually mention that to us at the planning commission meeting. They really appreciate that. So they also, the service division had to repair the street near 18th and Milner after a water leak. Unfortunately, there was another water leak at 28th and Hall Street. This one they had to use asphalt mix. And then they were able to repair the curb gutter and ADA ramp at 17th and Milner. Deputy Fire Chief Shane Preston attended Fire and Life Safety Inspector training in Lenexa, which the topic was emergency responder radio coverage, enhancements in large buildings. So I know that came helpful with the new high school, because that's obviously a very large building. Staff in parks treated 525 cedar and 7 blue spruce trees for bagworms at the sports complex, golf course, other parks, cemeteries, and green spaces. And staff replaced damaged bearings and made repairs to the merry-go-round at Seven Hills Park. Park staff also with assistance from Public Works, made necessary repairs to the parking lot at the golf course ahead of the chip and seal, which finished yesterday. Officer Clay Robinson visited the Hayes Public Library on June 26th as part of the summer reading program. And then the Hayes Good Samaritan Society hosted a barbecue meal for first responder agencies on June 27th, where members of the Hayes Police Department attended.
My grandpa.
I doubt we knew that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
That's funny.
FFA chapter officers from across the state gathered in Hayes for training on July 2nd. So actually a past Hayes FFA member reached out about having having the city host tours of the water and water reclamation plants. Jason Regal and Clayton Unruh gave tours to 2 separate groups totaling nearly 90 people. And then Kansas Governor Laura Kelly was in Hayes on Wednesday, July 9th to sign House Bill 2172, which established the state's new bipartisan water program task force. The group is charged with evaluating the state's water program and its funding, and will establish a water planning work group to submit reports to the legislature and the governor in 26 and 27. On the right, the governor is shown with past winners of the water poster contest, as well as 4-H water ambassadors. Down at the R9, a demonstration project was conducted the week of July 14th to determine the best and most economical way to improve access roads in anticipation of the well-filled construction projects. Various types of rock and geogrid fabric were used to determine the best method. There were approximately 2,000 linear feet of access road was improved during the demonstration project, and there are expected to be 6 miles of access road will have to be built within the well field for that project. But it turned out positive. CVB staff welcomed new students and their families at 5 Fort Hays State orientation events held in June and July, and they handed out over 1,200 welcome packets of information. The tour to Capellan, CVB helped with stuffing packets, early packet pickup on Friday afternoons, and then the day of, they helped with packet pickup, registration, and cleanup. There were a total of 242 registrants for the bike ride, 50 for the bus tour, and participants came from 9 different states.
Colin, we really need to congratulate and thank Melissa and all of her team. She was there, I think you started maybe at 5 a.m. You were pretty early, and was there all day long taking care of it. I volunteered for part of the day, but our people at Convention Visitors Bureau, under her leadership, are doing an amazing job.
We'll make sure that gets passed on. CVB staff worked with the website provider Civic Plus to create a fresh new user-friendly design for visithays.com. So on the left is the before and the after, which you can definitely find stuff easier on the after. It's good
It's a lot easier to use.
Equipment for the East 8th Street lift station replacement project has begun to show up. So Midwest Energy and Nex-Tech have already relocated some power and fiber in preparation for excavation of the new wet well. Mobilization should occur the rest of this week, and it should take, well, we were told it might go faster. This says 3 months, and to complete, they have till the end of the year. But it could be less than 2 months, as I would say, based on what we know right now. But don't hold us to that. Things happen. 13th Street reconstruction continues to progress. The street was opened up to two-way traffic late last week. 33rd Street reconstruction has been completed with only minor punch list items remaining. This was completed roughly 3 months ahead of schedule.
Two-way traffic this afternoon, all the cones
Yeah.
are moved, everything's
nice,
moving
so nice.
great.
They have to come back and do striping.
And it's 3 months early?
Mhm.
That's fantastic.
Seal coating and pavement marking projects wrapped up for the most part last week as part of the 25 street maintenance program. Pavement marking company will be back in town several weeks to complete the added work on the Vine Street corridor. So that'll be in a few weeks. They'll be back. Staff from Water Resources, Public Works, Office of Project Management, Driggs Design, Grow Haze, and Spore Land Development did a punch list walkthrough of the Grove project on Monday, July 7th. This was to inspect all the infrastructure in anticipation of home construction starting later this year. And Spore is finished with that project. They're no longer here. And at the airport staff placed rock along the fence line of the terminal parking lot. This is the only fencing area that does not have underground skirting to prevent animal digs. And the water flow that happened occasionally would wear out or erode that area, so they laid down rocks. So in addition to the erosion, it'll also help with wildlife hazards.
That's not the new fence we put in.
It's not the new, no.
The $1 million.
I mean, I wasn't here when they did the fence.
It was existing. There was some existing fence around the terminal area, not the fence that's around there.
Because the new fence is higher up, isn't it?
It's higher, and as Colin mentioned, it had skirting berries,
Yeah.
like 3 feet into the
Right,
ground.
I remember, okay.
Which new fence was that?
Around there.
Oh, that, okay.
Yeah. What was it, $1 million we had to spend or something like that?
What's that?
How much was that we had to spend to do that?
It was about $1.5 million
That's what I
to
thought.
fence the entire airport.
When was that done?
Before us, Mason.
It was
Okay.
2018, I believe.
Been a while ago.
Yeah, I think it was like
Almost
1.7
10
million.
years ago, Sean.
Okay. Were you in, what, 5th grade or?
I think so.
I don't know. That's all I have.
Thanks,
Do you have
Colin.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Colin.
Thanks for putting up with us tonight.
It's always my pleasure.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Melissa Dixon, Director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Have some things I want to be sure that are on your radar coming up in, I can't believe it is August. If you have not been out to the Sternberg to see their summer exhibit, this is your reminder to get there because it will end in September. It's the Animal Armor exhibit. Check it out. And another traveling exhibit that's here for a short time is A Place to Call Home at the Ellis County Historical Society Museum. So this is an interactive exhibit for all ages that tells the story of the first settlers, how tough it was in their own words through diary entries. And this is coming on loan from the Smoky Hill Museum in Salina. Saturdays throughout the summer, don't forget the Downtown Hayes Market is at the Downtown Pavilion, and also the Hayes Fresh Produce Market is in the Baumgars parking lot. And the annual Duck Derby, which is put on by Big Brothers Big Sisters of Ellis County, will be at the Hayes Aquatic Park. I believe the police department may have a boat in the competition. That'll be August the 6th, 5:30 to 7:30. If you would like to purchase a duck, I know they will be down at the Bazaar on the Bricks sidewalk sale this weekend, Saturday. The Fox Theater continues to bring great concerts to our community. August 7th will be Aaron Watson, and August 15th, the one and only Alien Ant Farm. The fire department invites you to come out for their front door Friday night, get to meet the firefighters and see the trucks. August 15th, 6 to 8 p.m., that's at Fire Station 1 here on Main Street. And RPM Speedway will have their regular IMCA races August 9th and August 23rd out at the Speedway. The largest Fort Hays State fundraiser of the year is the Tiger Auction and Dinner. This photo shows it at the practice facility. This year it will move to Gross Memorial Coliseum.
Don't
Take
let it go.
advantage of that new HVAC system. August 16th starts at 4:30 p.m. And then a new event on campus. This is partnership with Fort Hays State and
That's cool.
Sigma Chi Back to School Bash featuring Logan Mize. August 21st, it'll be out in the quad. Food trucks, great music. I believe they're going to try to charge $5. We'll see if they have a fence, but that's open to the public. Go check that out.
That's cool.
The Hayes Arts Council Fall Art Walk will be August 22nd, 6:30 to 9:30. And along with that event, the Hayes Symphony will have their Summer Pops concert, a night at the movies. So the same night, 7:30, under the downtown pavilion. Hayes Rec will hold their annual dog swim right before they close the pool, August 23rd, 11 to 1, at the aquatic park. And the Chamber will host their 37th annual Education Appreciation. If you've never been to this is a free dinner appreciation event for anybody that's in the education industry. So tell your friends that you know that are teachers that this is for them. August 26th at the Rose Garden Banquet Hall. And then Fort Hays State's first opening football game versus Angelo State will be August 28th at Louisville Stadium. There's way more than that. Look at visithays.com. We've got a great event calendar there where you can find more.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
And thanks for everything you all do out there.
Mason, did you attend Afro Man?
No, I did not.
I've never even heard of the guy.
Definitely heard
Commissioners,
of him.
any ending comments?
I know we already talked about 32nd Street. Just thank you to all the residents on there. I mean, it was kind of a pain, but the road is awesome now, and I can finally drive through. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know for the audience it's probably boring, but calling all the stuff you talked about on the housing, we're all passionate about it, and we think about it, talk about it all the time. I really enjoy going to the quarterly luncheons when you have developers there, and just from their perspective, you hear different what they think we need, and it's good to hear. And they're all extremely busy, and from what I hear, they all can't really do a whole lot more right now because they're so busy, which I think is great. So it's a lot of good things.
Commissioner Barrick?
I don't have a lot at this time. I think it's, like I said, it's great to be able to cross 32nd Street. That's kind of a huge thing. And it's nice that we're getting some rain. And one of the cool things, the museum finished its summer camps, and we had kids from about 30 different states and 3 different countries.
Wow, that's
So,
fantastic.
so there's all kinds of cool things that bringing people to town, and it's just a fun time of year, and so just go out and enjoy it.
Mr. Cunningham?
I just wanted to add one more comment on the housing study. But one of the other things that we have done recently is update those UDC codes. And I have heard from numerous builders how it has helped, and they were much appreciative that their opinions were asked when we did that. So just wanted to add that. And then hope everybody gets out this weekend, enjoys downtown with Bazaar on the Bricks and all that's offered out there. It's the last weekend in July, which I don't know, to be sad or excited, but it makes me sad because I like summer, but it does make me excited knowing that the students are right around the corner returning. They do bring a great aspect to our community, and so I'm excited to see them return.
Good.
That's all I got.
Commissioner Reeder?
Yeah, Lark's back in the World Series hunt,
Yeah.
so fingers crossed for them.
I thought they played today at 2, didn't they?
Yep.
They moved it up. Did they win?
They did. Did they win? I haven't looked.
I haven't looked yet.
They were ahead last
They were? Yeah, I know they moved it up because of the storm.
I haven't
Yep.
looked yet.
They're playing in Wichita.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully they continue that run. And then the only other thing I had was drop my parents off at the airport last night so they could go on a vacation. And I kind of drove around the parking lot just kind of looking at the license plates, not as a creeper, just wanted to see where everyone's from. The front row right there, there were only 2 tags in the entire full front row that were Ellis County. All the other ones were from a whole bunch of other counties throughout the state, and then there was about 10 of them that were out-of-state tags, which was just crazy. And it was packed. Walked in, you almost couldn't have a seat waiting for the plane, which is pretty crazy. So it's good to see.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I can't tell you how happy I am for 32nd and 33rd to be open. I will be driving down 27th Street, and I'm at Hickory, which is a block or 2 before the Willow turn, and I think, oh, I can't turn on Willow. I have to go one more. I get to Willow, and I turn. And I have been lost winding my way back out of there, so I won't have to do that anymore.
Creatures of habit.
I really appreciated the information tonight on housing, but I think the thing that came out of that, first of all, I want to apologize. I probably said more words in this meeting than I said for a really long time, but I'm pretty passionate about our processes and our decisions. There's no easy decisions. There's no easy answers. I wish there were. It'd be great. We'd have short meetings, and if we all agreed, 4 of us could stay home and 1 of us could make all the decisions. Please, from the public standpoint, please know that we're really cognizant of the risk when we bond. We understand what we're doing and why we're doing, and we're still, if not the lowest, one of the lowest in the state. We're informed. We make sure that we get all the information we need before we go down these roads and put any risk on the city whatsoever. We've researched other communities, and we've researched tons of options. We use incentive because we're seeing them work. And that's what I said earlier. We are wanting private investment back in our community, and if they see it happening this way, it will, and it did. I'm proud of what we're doing. I'm proud of the decisions here. I'm proud of our community. I mean, people are stepping up and talking about what they want in this community, and knowing that we will do our very best to make it happen. So I'm proud of everything that's happening. We're looking forward to the next good thing. Executive session. We're adjourned.